Welcome to Glad You Asked. Hope everyone's doing lovely on this wonderful Thursday afternoon. The sun is shining bright, although it's warm outside. So I hope you all are staying hydrated and sunscreened as you're out in this heat and this humidity, doing what you do so well. So we got some discussion for you today. Whew, boy, it's going to be lively. At least I hope it will. I see Tiffany has joined us, and Tiffany is awesome at what she does. She keeps all of the notes and the stuff to keep me on target and to keep this big department going. So Tiffany, what are we discussing today, ma'am?
All right. Well, thank y'all for joining us. So today, as you noticed, if you saw your text, we are talking about KW Central agents gone wild. Some of y'all have gone off the rocker. I'm kidding. But a little bit, wild. There's quite a few issues that we need to talk about. Avoid some of these commission complaints, some of these E&O claims that are happening. There's a lot happening that we want to grow from, to teach from, and to protect you all from repeating other errors, if you will. Yeah. So before we get into today's topic, I do have a couple of reminders for you, a couple of things that are coming up to be aware of, okay? So number one, on Monday, August 1st, you will be receiving an email from the BIC department on whether you would like for Teresa to vote for our firm to choose to go from AMLS to TMLS or not. And so we're going to send out a poll to all the agents. We're asking you to respond by Friday at the latest, because she has to make that vote the following week. And so be on the lookout in your email for a link to place your vote. Okay, so that's the first reminder. Well, actually, I think that's our first time announcing that one. Mm-hmm. We are going to do a policy and procedure review. I always like to cover 3 of them. So we've got 3 that we're going to talk about briefly before we jump into what you agents are up to. Want to do a quick reminder that when it comes to your advertising, you guys, we're going to talk a little bit about in detail some advertising issues. But we want to remind you that E&O coverage, we do not have a policy that covers advertising. So if you have any issues, any complaints, anything that happens concerning your advertising, it will not be covered by E&O. So we need you guys to really review that advertising exhibit that we have in the policies and procedures and make sure that you are following our policies regarding advertising, okay? And then the last thing before I get into the policies and procedures, we are on our next Glad You Asked. We had some requests. We've had some you ask for some more information, some opportunities and such. We are having a guest, Tanya Cattle. She is the Alamance County head of the permits area department. And so she's going to come and talk to us about permits and how it works in Alamance. So we're still working on getting Orange and what was the other county, Teresa? Was it Durham, maybe?
Durham.
Durham. So we're planning on getting a guest speaker from all 3, but we already have Tanya on the schedule. She will be at our next Glad You Asked on August the 11th. So make sure you come with your questions about permitting in Alamance County, okay? Or just come and learn what the permitting process is in Alamance and the things that the permitting office wants you as real estate brokers to know and to share with your clients, okay? Excited? We're gonna have her guest visit with us on next Glad You Asked in 2 weeks, August the 11th. So next, I'm going to share my screen. We have 3 policies that we are going to briefly review together. And the first one is policy number 34. 34. Are any of you on here provisional brokers? Do we have any PBs in the house? In the Zoom? Okay, well, whether you're provisional or if you know a provisional broker, this one's a quick review. When it comes to our PBs, so that's policy number 34, And I'm sharing my screen now. Somebody give me, let me hit the button first. Give me a thumbs up if you can see policies and procedures. Can anybody see them?
It's coming. We can now.
Okay. All right, great. So number 34, this is our provisional.
Tiffany, hang on one second. We someone put something in the chat. Yes, we do actually have a provisional on with us.
Oh, we do. Yes. I'm glad that you're here. So number 34, our provisional brokers post-licensing deadline. Just a quick review here. All 3 of the required post-licensing classes must be completed within 9 months from the agent's start date with Keller Williams, unless the time frame is shortened due to North Carolina Real Estate Commission requirements. So remember, the commission recently changed it to 8 months to complete all 3. But our policy here at KW is that you complete them within 9 months of signing on with KW. So if you're a PB, we've had a couple of issues with some PBs missing their deadlines here lately. And we wanted to just give a refresher and a reminder about our company policy concerning post-licensing classes. All right, the next one that we're going to review today is policy number 39. And let me just move that over a bit so I can access it. Okay, number 39. It is seller sub-agency. Do any of you all remember what seller sub-agency actually is? Can anybody give me a quick remember seller sub-agency?
I thought it was when if you don't have a buyer's agreement, you're automatically a seller sub-agent and you represent the seller.
Okay, thank you, Tara.
I'm wrong.
So you're in the ballpark. You are in the building, right? So good job there. And so sure, if you're working with a buyer, but they will not sign an agency agreement, then you can't work for that buyer, which means that you would then be working for the seller. And then the only other piece of that is only if the seller authorizes that compensation, that seller sub-agency compensation. But we want you guys to know that we have a policy here concerning seller sub-agency. And that policy is that we, Keller Williams Central, do not practice seller sub-agency. So a sub-agent is a person authorized to act on behalf of another. An agent showing a property that you have listed to a customer who they do not have a buyer agency agreement with would be acting like a sub-agent to you. And we do not compensate, as a firm, we do not compensate seller sub-agents. So the answer to the sub-agency question in the agency agreement, it will always be no. And in the MLS, it will always be no. Okay, so make sure, Tara.
I have a question. So if someone is listing the property, the people that are listing it, and then someone comes to go see it, and then they say, oh, the person on the sign is, I'm working with them and they're writing the contract, is that making them the seller sub-agent?
Okay, so you're saying if someone is unrepresented.
Correct.
Okay,
and they represent the seller, but a buyer comes in and wants to put in the offer, the seller makes the offer for or writes the offer for them.
Right. So that's not seller sub-agency. They're already the seller's agent. So that is the seller's agent can assist an unrepresented buyer. They can. Okay. Thank you for asking. All right, so the other point here, so when you're dealing with that, thanks to Tara for segueing into that here, when dealing with an unrepresented buyer or seller, you still owe that customer the traditional agency requirements, which are honesty, fairness, and disclosure of material facts. All right, and so just wanted to give you guys that quick view on what our seller sub-agency policy is here. And so, I think I skipped one sentence here in the middle here. Should buyer agency not be an option, perhaps an unwilling buyer, then that buyer would remain unrepresented. All right. And then the last policy that we're going to review for today is number 43. I'm just going to scroll it on down here. If any of you have or are considering getting an unlicensed assistant, we just wanted to review this policy with you briefly here. So the commission now requires the broker in charge to supervise unlicensed assistants. So if any of you all have an unlicensed assistant, we have to know about it now. So we're asking you to report to our email, brokerincharge832@gmail.com, immediately if you hire an unlicensed assistant, because they have to have their own building access credentials. They have to be submitted appropriately to the MLSs to receive their own login credentials associated with the hiring agent. And then you can see below for a list of permitted and unpermitted activities of unlicensed assistants. And then last step here, and this has happened recently, so we want to review and refresh with you all. If you have an unlicensed assistant that is terminated or leaves your team or you individually, you have to make sure that you notify us of the unlicensed assistant leaving as well. Again, so all these things that had to be set up for that assistant now have to be removed. Okay, so we need to be aware of what's going on with your unlicensed assistants. And then just for your benefit here, the permitted and unpermitted activities, this is directly from the Real Estate Commission. We just popped it right in here for your sake, for you to review the things that unlicensed assistants can and cannot do. For the sake of time, we're going to focus on the unpermitted column here, things that they cannot do. Make sure you do not have your unlicensed assistants showing property for sale. Remember, they cannot do that. They can show property that's for rent, but not for sale. Okay, so that's number one, no. Also, they cannot answer questions from prospective buyers about listed properties other than what has been provided by you in promotional material. So they can only provide something that you already have in writing, maybe from the listing, but they can't offer opinions as to the seller or landlord's intentions. They can't solicit listings. This is another no that some of our agents have done. You cannot have your unlicensed assistant solicit listings or buyer contracts from prospective clients. In other words, it's saying that your unlicensed assistant cannot do your lead generation. Okay, make sure you're clear on that. The next thing is they cannot prepare information to be placed in promotional materials or advertisements. Remember, the BICs are responsible for reviewing all of your advertising. You cannot have an unlicensed assistant who doesn't know the rules or the laws preparing your ads for you. So they can enter them in, they can type up an ad that you have prepared, but they can't prepare the ads. They also cannot discuss or explain listing agreements, offer agency agreements, or any other similar matters with people outside of the firm. And the final thing is they cannot negotiate. So they can't negotiate rent, earnest money, due diligence, or any other contract provision for properties that are listed for sale with the firm. So just a quick review there, because if you have an unlicensed assistant that's violating these rules, then you're going to be responsible because they don't have a license for the commission to take action against. So the commission will take action against your license. And of course, because the BICs are now responsible, it's going to come back on the firm as well. Okay, so you individually as an agent and the broker in charge / firm are responsible for these unlicensed assistants. So we just wanted to give you that quick review. And now, do we have any questions before we start talking about our agents gone wild? Any questions? All right, well, for what most of you all are probably here for, Teresa. We've got 7 topics, you guys, 7 issues that have happened very recently that we need you to know what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
So, Teresa, how quickly does an agent need to send a contract back to the other side once the parties have signed?
All right. So this is pre-licensing 101 right here. I mean, take us back to pre-licensing. So the commission says immediately, but no later than 3 days. 3 days. And that's not just with contracts. That with any documents that your client has signed, anything that you need to get back to them, we have a duty to send it immediately, but no later than 3 days. So, and that's another thing I want to add to that, to this. Make me think of something else. Even when it comes to offers, we're creating offer deadlines. Something goes on the market on Wednesday, but you wait and hold it until not Thursday, but maybe Sunday or the next week. Well, we should have delivered that to our client immediately, but no later than 3 days. It's okay to review longer than that, but they need to be sent and submitted or given to your client in that 3-day window. So yeah, we had a situation with that where an offer, now contract, was never sent to the other party, was never sent. Yeah. So let's keep that in mind. That is a commission rule. Send it immediately, but no later than 3 days.
All right. Thank you. And please don't be that guy or girl. We're not going to say who, but send the contracts, you guys. If you're under contract, the other party needs the contract so they can fulfill their side of the duties. It's not rocket science here. Both parties have to have a copy so that they can fulfill it. Okay. So you're going to create big problems for your clients if you fail to do the simple duty of providing the copies of the documentation or the contracts. All right. Number 2. Teresa, will you please stop calling people that have asked you not to call them anymore? Oh my goodness.
All right.
Or you talk about it, Teresa, talk about it.
Okay, so this one is interesting, and you all here may be thinking, well, that's a no-brainer, and you're absolutely right. If someone, even if their number is not on the do not call list, but they ask and request when you're lead generating to not contact them any longer, guess what we need to do? Put them on your own personal do not call list. Take them off of your lead generating sheets. Don't contact them again. Even if you're having someone else do your lead generating for you, even if they are on the even if they're not on the DNC list, but they have requested that we no longer contact them, let's remove them, because number one, it sheds a negative light on the agent, that specific individual agent, but it can also look bad on the firm. It can now put a negative light on the firm that we have harassing type agents, and we don't want to do that. So if someone requests to stop calling or contacting, let's be respectful and mindful of that and remove them from our list. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm done with that one.
Okay. Teresa, I think we touched on this one actually last time, you guys, but we're going to touch it again just to make sure. If someone does not want to work with you anymore, let them go. We are not holding people hostage here, people. This is not that kind of party. If someone has said, I cannot work, I do not want to work, you and me, we don't work well together, then be prepared to take the next steps to either pass them along to another agent. You could still get a referral for that, or be prepared to release with some sort of a termination fee for your work that you have done, but let people go. Okay, Teresa, talk about it.
Okay, so here is where I want to say, keep calm. It's only real estate. It's okay. I promise you, there will be another client that will come along that you can work with. And here's the thing, there are millions and billions of people in this world. Even in North Carolina, I should have ran the numbers. I don't know how many people are in Alamance County, almost 1 million, I believe they say. Something, I think I saw some number. It's like 900 and some thousand in Alamance County. Believe me, you can and I can't work with all of them. It's okay if a client says they want to be or request to be, to get out of the agency agreement. There could be some reasons that we feel as agents, we love to keep the relationship going, but most likely it's going to be more damaging in the future if you hold on to them. And if someone doesn't want to work with me, trust me, I probably don't want to work with them either. I've heard people in their listing presentation say something to the effect of, we will decide to work together. If I decide to work with you, and if you decide to work with me. So maybe the script can be something to that effect. But anyway, if down the road it's not working out, it's not a good match or a good fit, just let them go, terminate. And here's the thing, we've had situations in the past where the buyer was not let out of their agency agreement. So this buyer went and signed another one with another firm. So there are 2 exclusive buyer agency agreements out there. So that buyer went under contract and closed with this other agent. So at this point, I had to get in the middle because our agent wanted to be compensated. But guess what? They were not procuring calls of that particular property. So they ended up not getting the commission anyway. They ended up not working with that client. So it would have been less time consuming and less stress and less space taken in the brain had we just terminated the agency agreement. I do want to say that the North Carolina Real Estate Commission License Law and Commission Rules does give BIC the authority to override and terminate. But I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. I would love for it, because I respect you all as agents. I respect your business, and I respect the work that you do. So if they say this isn't working and they want a divorce, happily sign the divorce papers. They don't want to be married anymore.
And if you have questions about it, if you're not sure how to handle it, please don't hesitate to contact us. We can guide you through that. Again, other options could be referrals to another agent and a possible referral fee as opposed to nothing at all. And Sarah has a question in the chat. When these issues come up, if one of us was involved in it, would you reach out and let us know? Absolutely, Sarah. So we notify agents individually of the issue, their transactions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the other thing.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah, for asking that, because I had a point. I lost it. Let me read it again. When the issues come up, one of us and I, we reach out to I lost my point. Sorry.
Well, I will say this, if calls or customer client complaints come in, Teresa is very, very careful about logging what the complaint is and notifying the agent. So you will know if there is any kind of concern or complaint with a logged record of what that complaint is from the individual.
Thank you, Tiffany. That reminded me. So here, yes, we do I will contact you. And the reason being is I don't necessarily take the client's word for everything, right? They're telling me one side of the story. I need to hear from the agent. So I want you all to know that I don't jump on the client's bandwagon. So I need to hear the agent side of this story as well, so we can talk about it and discuss it and figure out the best way forward from it. So just want you all to know that, because you all are my first concern. So I just do not take the clients or potential clients' word for it. I like to get all sides of the story.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. Number 4, can you please tell me how to avoid getting sued for hundreds of thousands of dollars by proper marketing or disclosures, especially the habitability of a property? Talk
Yes.
to me, Teresa. Talk to me.
Okay, so, and we're going over these because these are actual issues that have come up. When it comes to listings, and when I first got in the business back in 2004, the saying was at the firm, list to last. You gotta list to last. Every time I went to a team meeting, list to last and list to last. So that was the saying. So the bread and butter basically is in the listing. And so it's been very easy to get listings here lately, because over the last few years, because it's been a seller's market. So we haven't had to work as hard or lead generate quite like we used to, because it's a seller's market. But when you're taking these listings, and we know that the market is shifting, the market is changing, again, it's still a seller's market. We are not quite out of that yet. So I say again, keep calm. It's only real estate. With these listings, make sure we're asking lots and lots and lots of questions. And sometimes, even though we can ask a gazillion questions, sellers may not be as forthcoming with information, which is why we go to the county and we start checking things and looking at records. And sometimes that can give us or raise a red flag that something is going on. Well, in cases where there are issues with listings, maybe it's with permitting or COs or whatever it is, it's okay to take the listing. I always say, get the listing, get the thing signed, get it signed, take the listing, but maybe hold off on the marketing until these issues are cleared up, or the county or city or whoever, whether it's septic related or whatever it is, until the issue is resolved or has a definitive answer from the organization or institution that makes a determination about the property. Okay, so if there's a missing permit or whatever it is, again, take the listing, get it signed, but don't market it until we have, or you have, a definitive answer as to what the governing organization is going to do or not going to do. And be sure to get it in writing. If the county says, no, we're not issuing a permit for that, if we do, we can't inspect it, you got to tear the walls out or whatever, and the seller is not willing to do that, get that in writing and disclose, 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 disclose.
Can you say that 3 more times?
Disclose, disclose, disclose.
You guys,
Writing.
you have to disclose. Duty as agents, part of your duty is discover and disclose. And so it's not enough to say the seller is applying or application pending and then never follow up with whatever the outcome was. That's not safe enough. And that will protect you from getting sued later if the outcome is not favorable, right? So it would be better to wait for an outcome if possible. And then if you cannot, be sure that you track and that you disclose along the way the outcome when it does become available. Disclose, disclose, disclose in writing, in writing, in writing, disclose in writing, disclose in writing, disclose in writing.
Did we say get it in writing?
Did we say disclose?
Yeah. So take the listing, but do your homework and, don't mark it until it's best. Best practice is hold off on the marketing until there's something definitive in writing.
Okay, and we're talking about here, if there's concerns or questions, permits, or the COO, if the property is even habitable, if there's been a COO. Remember, in new construction, if you were to sell a property that doesn't have a COO, it's a felony, just so you know. So we're talking about, serious matters here. If there's occupancy concerns, if there's septic concerns or issues or possible condemning of the property, any of those types of things, you're really going to want to have a definitive disclosure there. You don't want the cloudy, oh, I said that there's an application pending. That might not be enough for you, okay? And so we really want to protect you and encourage you to protect yourself and your client, okay? All right, number five. Okay, this is the age of social media. We get it. You all have to advertise on social media. Everybody's doing it. No problem with that, but you have to remember that you can't do blind ads. So when we need you, when you're advertising, to make sure that there is always a KW, the KW logo, Keller Williams, Keller Central, something like that associated with whatever comments you put. We have a lot of agents that are sharing other people's listings. They hit a share. But if you're going to share on top of your share, you need to put Keller Williams on your portion of share. We're having a lot of concerns. A lot of things are coming up about improper advertising on social media. And so it's important for you to know that it is considered a blind ad if your firm name is not in the ad. Okay, so just again, reminder, whatever you're advertising, there has to be a firm name, so it will not be considered a blind ad. It's not good enough to just say your name and that you're a realtor. You have to have your firm's name. Okay.
And in addition to that, thank you, Tiffany.
Sure.
When it comes to Facebook and even Instagram, they have business accounts or business page. Make sure, and this is a Facebook thing, I think one bought the other or something like that. Make sure you are using your business account or your business page, because Facebook is notorious for shutting stuff down if they see too much business coming from a personal profile. So make sure you are advertising from your business page or business account.
Yep. And one more thing, our local firm policy, our office policy, is that you will only advertise listings of our firm. So not listings from other firms. We've had some issues here. Technically, that's not a violation from the Real Estate Commission, but it is a violation of our own local policy. So it's our policy to advertise our firm's listings only. Okay, and that is with permission. If it's not yours, you make sure you got permission from the listing agent to do those advertising.
Yes.
All right. I share things from my business page to my personal page. It helps that issue that Facebook has, okay, to share it to your personal from your business.
Right.
So I don't post it directly to my personal, it's on my business, and I share the business to my personal. It just changes the algorithm too of how many people can see it.
Right. Very good.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Tara. All right, we've got two more, you guys, two more. Y'all have been really at it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Number 6. If your listing is complicated, if you have issues with your listing, like a disgruntled neighbor that has a lawsuit against you, is that too much? Is that too much information? I hope not. Okay. If your listing has issues that you are aware of, what do they need to do, Teresa? What do they need to do?
Yeah, again, get all the documentation you absolutely can. Get everything. Ask questions. Again, we got a list to last, so listings are where it's at. I know that was bad grammar because I ended a sentence with a preposition. I get it. Get information, get as much documentation as you possibly can, because again, it could be more trouble than what it's worth in the future, especially when it comes to these trouble listings, because what I'm seeing here, when we're taking troubled listings and there's trouble or issues in the very beginning, they end up terminating anyway. The majority of the trouble listings in the beginning end up terminating. And I mean, the agency agreement is terminated, not just the contract or contract that was on the property, but the agency as well, because it's hard to sell when there's trouble with the listing. So get documentation up front, ask questions. If you hear things, anybody ever been at one of their listings, maybe taking pictures or outside, putting signs in the yard or whatever, and then a neighbor comes up and then starts talking and saying things and, just spilling their guts. It's like they have diarrhea of the mouth. And now you have possible material fact that may need to be disclosed. So if you've experienced that, then take that information to your seller and see, I see Tara and I see Sarah. So take that information and ask the seller. And again, we only know what we're being told, but do as much digging as you possibly can and try to resolve it prior to marketing the property. That way you can have the correct information when you're disclosing, or as close to correct as you possibly can, right? Because we still, even though we discover and disclose, we still may not have all the information of it, but we can do our duty to have as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, to better, again, yourself and your client. If you get a complaint from the real estate commission, thing they're going to want are documents. They're going to want to know what you have, what information you had, what you did or did not disclose or gather. And so the more that you have, the better the chance that you may not have such a complaint. But if you do, then you have the information that you need to provide. Mm-hmm. And so again, if there's any gray area or fuzzy areas or areas that your client is dodging or doesn't want to clearly answer, that's where you need to dig. You need to dig deeper, because it could get you sued. We're just being really blatant and honest here, you guys. And so don't allow them to gloss over issues that could be major material facts that need to be disclosed. Okay, so this is for your and your client's protection. All right, so let's go back in the chat here just a little bit here. There was a couple of questions, and we got some CYAN going on. In case you don't know what that means, it means cover your okay. So assets. You cover your assets at all times, please. All right. So there was a question from Sarah. Do we need to write the firm name again if we're sharing from our business page to our personal page? Okay, good question, Sarah. I see why the CYA thing came in. It would not hurt you to just be sure, even if you just put KW. We need just something that indicates a firm in all advertising. So that would be better. If there is a complaint from the commission, it would be better for you to have it there than to rely on just the content in the share.
Yeah, we're dealing with that now. And that was one of the potential issues, because it comes across as blind, because even though the information of the actual listing agent was there, the agent that was sharing it did not have broker information there. So don't know the ruling yet on this one. So I'll be very anxious to see what the ruling is on it there. So it doesn't come across as a blind ad. Put KW, KWC, KW Central, something there to distinguish who you are, that you are a broker advertising potential services to the public.
And speaking of CYA, so that's certainly covering it from the real estate commission standpoint. But again, E&O does not cover advertising issues. So if you get sued because of your advertising, you're on your own. So it would be in your best interest to make sure that you don't have anything that could potentially be misconstrued as blind ads or any such thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sonia, when we share others' Facebook posts, we are not allowed to share any that are not part of Keller Williams. Is that correct? So Sonia, what we are saying is that for our company policy, we are asking that you do not add listings for other firms. That is correct. So that's what we're saying. It's not that it's a policy against the real estate commission, but it is our local office policy to not be involved with advertising other firms' listings. Because again, we don't do the seller sub-agency. We are focused on our own firm and our own firm's listings. Okay, if there's something wrong in that advertisement from that listing agent, could you be liable for it if you pass on the ad? We're not willing to take on that liability. I hope that is clarifying there. Jen once had a neighbor, potential buyer, that he owned part of the property's driveway. What a headache proving that one, right? So if there's potential issues with easements or something like that, on the flip side, had the neighbor told me that I could have put that to rest before going to market, right? So that's true. Sometimes the neighbors talk to the actual buyers instead of the agents, right? And so just be prepared that if an issue or a question comes up, you got the duty to discover and disclose. So get to work, okay, and get it clear before closing so you don't get sued. We're trying to stop y'all from getting sued. Okay, here we go.
Sometimes they sue the firm as well. So
yeah, that's true too. But can we advertise, let's see, but can we advertise other KW market centers? Correct. So you're saying outside of our market center.
But still a KW, like out of state. I know a lot of people in Florida and other states, and we talk about that we can help people across the states. Can we advertise other Keller Williams market centers listings with permission, of course?
All right. I am looking for the office policy, that particular policy, so I can actually answer that question, because that is a really good one.
And while you're looking for it, Tiffany, remember that we are independently owned. Each office is independently owned and operated, which means that we are franchised. We don't have the same ownership, don't have the same brokers in charge, don't have the same operating principles and all of that. So with that being said, even though it's a KW part of the KW franchise, it is not a part of our particular local market center. Again, it's for your protection. You know, with social media, it's so, especially Facebook, it's so easy to just reshare someone else's post. But we have to remember that we are licensed brokers who happen to be realtors. And so not only are we bound by license law commission rules of North Carolina, we're also held to code of ethics from the realtor associations. So that still goes back to, we would prefer as a market center that we keep our sharing in-house. Now, here's the thing. Now, I will say this. You all are independent contractors and you run your own businesses. So you're not employees. Let me say that, you're not employees. So even though we have office policies, you are running your own business. Now, I'll tell you, here's my stance. I have to CYA as well. And that's where these local office policies and procedures come in, where I have to make sure that that we as a market center have our policies in place. Okay, so let me throw that out there. So if you choose to share, reshare, or whatever it's called on all these platforms, someone else's post, make sure you do what you're supposed to do according to North Carolina Real Estate License Law Commission rules on advertising when you're doing it.
Yeah, and as far as the actual policy and procedure, it specifically says that we have to have the listing agreement, that our BIC has to have the listing agreement. So I would say that if you're attempting to advertise a different market listings, our BIC would need to have that listing agreement in order to do it according to our local policy.
Yeah, just reading the comments in the chat, very good discussion going on there. Jen says, I think that could be tough not knowing all the individual MLS and commission rules in other states. Very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. I only know North Carolina's, and that's enough right there, because I think we're one of the strictest states out there. So Tara, your hand is raised.
I have a question. Yeah. So for, there's the ridiculous real estate page. Those are technically listings. So I'm curious, and we love sharing those big houses, and even on our personal page, where's the line? If it's just entertainment to us on our personal page, would that be, because it's technically, most of them are listings in other states and other firms.
Yeah, that's a good question. Very good question.
There's a lot, I see that a lot. That's all I'm saying. And I've been guilty of doing it. So
And I want to make sure I'm clear on the first part. You said just out there, and there's a listing, is technically a listing.
There's a page called Ridiculous Real Estate, and they're just really big, beautiful houses. There's another one that is historic houses, but technically they're all listings. If you read the information about them, and they are listings with other firms. So I've shared several because they're gorgeous houses.
Right. And I tell you, yeah, seeing Tara, there's nothing wrong with that. I have an example. Suppose I'm going to give her the name of Jane, because no one here is named Jane. Say Jane is not a licensee. She's not licensed in any state. She's not a licensed broker. And she's a part of this wonderful, pretty big house group on social media. And she sees a posting or list something that's posted, and she reshared it on her profile page. No issue, not a problem. Why? Because she's not licensed. So, me, I see one. I'm a part of the group as well. And for me, my intent and so Jane could just be sharing it for entertainment purposes because she thinks it's gorgeous and beautiful. However, because I am licensed, my intent and motivation for resharing could be because it's 30 minutes away from me, and I can, and it's listed in North Carolina. I could potentially have a buyer or somebody, and I reshare the post, and I am licensed. The biggest thing with the commission and advertising is that that goes back to the blind ad. Jane is not licensed. Now, if I repost without notifying the public that I'm licensed, that's what makes it blind. So not that there's anything wrong with it. You could do it. You can repost.
But just stating that I am an agent with Keller Williams Central.
That's why we asked.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. KWC. Gotcha.
Keller Williams.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes. So, okay, I'm still reading.
I agree, Jen.
Okay, so Paul asked a question. So would I have to get the listing agreements for my other market center?
So Paul, does that mean you are affiliated with another KW market center? Yeah. Okay. So if that's the case, that BIC should have the listing agreements for that firm. And so if you're affiliated with another one and you're advertising that, that firm's or that market center's listings, then as long as, again, you have KW in your particular tagline or what have you, and you have a BIC that has the listing agreement or access to it, then that should be fine.
Mhm.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. Let's see, is there anything else here in the chat before we go to the last one? Okay. Sarah, when sending postcards, does the firm name need to be listed on only one side or both sides of the piece? Good question, Sarah. Okay. What do you think, Teresa? One side or both?
Well, hopefully they will see both sides. I don't know that there's a right or wrong here, so long as it's on the postcard. So it needs to, your firm name needs to be somewhere on there. It wouldn't hurt to be on both sides, but if it's only on one based on the design, then as long as it's there in your advertising.
Yep, I would agree. I would say wherever your name is, wherever your name is printed, that's where the KW should also be a particular piece of media. Okay. All right, the last issue of the day, last one. Teresa, are we responsible if our buyers are like whole fraudulent, like they are coming up with fake fake lender letters, and they're providing this stuff? Are we responsible for that if they are whole cray cray?
I know, right?
What the what?
Did you just say cray cray?
Cray cray.
You did. All right. So when it comes to these buyers, submitting or giving us agents documents that, after some investigation are forged, fraudulent, whatever, falsified, all of that good stuff. Here is our duty, is to follow our client's lawful instruction. Okay. Now, with that, if it's lawful, follow it as long as you have agency agreement. Now, there is a distinct difference between a client acting in or taking part in fraudulent, falsifying or whatever activity. But here's the thing, once we become aware of it as agents, it's best to terminate agency agreement, especially once we know there is something going on there that just simply doesn't add up. Okay. And you all may have seen, I hope all of you saw it, the email that came from the big email that I sent out regarding the fraud alert. Nothing really wrong on the buyer's agent side. However, because she was only following the client's lawful instruction, especially it appeared to be, everything on the surface appeared to be okay. So just be mindful of when your clients are not performing based on their contract. That's a red flag. Most genuine clients, buyers and sellers will, show good faith in performing their tasks. But anytime clients are not performing their duties, that could be potential red flags right there. So once you,
should I call and verify my buyers, like talk to their lender? Can I do that?
Absolutely. Okay. Please.
And what if the lender tells me there is no way this person will ever qualify to buy anything? Run.
Yeah. Okay. So, right. Run. Or did you intend to give me this particular lender? Start asking questions. Ask questions. And if that person, again, what's the definition from the real estate commission? The buyer has to be ready, willing, and able, the ability to purchase. That's where issues can come in. I'm ready to go buy a $5 million property right now. It comes down to ability. I'm willing to even go there and do it, but it comes down to ability. So just be careful and, you know, be alert, because there's a lot of stuff going on out there, especially in this market, in this, I mean, we are in information age. So much is available at everyone's fingertips.
And I have to admit, I am baffled that there are people who will intentionally create fraudulent bank documentation. Like, I don't know if they realize the number of federal laws that they're breaking. And if any of these banks decide to take action, they're going to jail. You just make sure you don't join them. Okay.
Exactly.
So if you become aware of this kind of activity, you need to separate yourself. You need to terminate and not be involved in it if you become aware that you're being provided with false or falsified or fraudulent bank statements and things, or false letters, pre-qualification letters, or any such thing.
Mhm. And Tiffany, I'm going to change jail to prison.
Okay.
Prison, because when you start falsifying bank documents and things of that nature, that's on the federal level.
Yes.
Prison.
Thank you. We don't
Yes.
want any of you to be there. None of you. We're going to prison.
Okay. So, Tara put something in the chat. Let's see.
Orange isn't my color.
Mine either.
Honestly, orange is my favorite color, but I'm still not going for anybody. Let me tell you.
Oh, geez. Okay, I'm backing up in the chat here. Okay, Jen says, I will definitely handle offers and buyers differently going forward.
Good.
Who
Good
knows?
practice.
Absolutely.
Be aware. Yep.
Yes. Speaking for fraud, and I've shared it with a few people here, but get a prepaid Visa for Facebook ads to protect your accounts. Absolutely. Protect your assets, right? As well as cover them. Yeah.
I only say that because I've had a fraud issue with our accounts, and moving forward, anything on a reoccurring basis goes to a prepaid Visa or an account that has a very minimal balance.
Right.
Just not something that has the same one that has my mortgage attached to.
Yeah. Smart. That's being wise. And that's what it's about, being wise in this information technology age that we are in. Because clients and buyers, consumers have access to the same information we have, almost the same information that we have access to. We just have a little bit more detail about properties that they don't have, but that's the thing, information at our fingertips. So be careful, be cautious, protect yourself, and protect the firm.
Any questions? Any questions?
Comments?
All right. Sarah.
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
On the listing side, if I'm the listing agent and I suspect fraudulence by the buyer, not by their agent, what would I do?
Come let me know.
Okay.
Come let me know. And then what I would probably, investigate it and go to the big, if there's something weird going on there, then yeah, we would take it to the big just to ask some questions. Indeed.
Listing agents can call and confirm. There's you checking the financing information. So if you do suspect, raise that flag quickly to protect your client.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good.
Any other questions? Well, go forth and do good real estate things and stay out of prison. And make sure, if you haven't looked at it recently, double check that advertising exhibit that we have out in the policies and procedures for you guys, because there's a lot more happening with advertising, a lot of commission complaints about it. So they're going to start taking a look and starting to crack down. So we're trying to beat that for you guys by making sure that you're well versed on proper advertising. That and the fact that you're not protected by E&O when it comes to advertising. Okay. So just really want to beat that one home for you. And until next time, we are so glad you asked.
Glad you asked. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye, everybody.